We need some sound. There we go. We're going to have some sound there. Well, I'll start again. Welcome to the Doe Show. So we're financial advisors here with Jazz Wealth. I've already kind of explained that. No need to do it again. And occasionally what we do is we focus on finances sort of in the news, things that are happening in the news that may affect your, your dough, right? So sometimes it's pretty interesting. Sometimes it's maybe bad news, things that are going on there. We'll cover a few stories today. And then, of course, if we help you in some way, maybe you'll hit the subscribe button and apologize again for the technical glitches here and there. We're making adjustments. We got a new space, so we're trying to get everything set up and fine-tuned. Hopefully this looks a little bit better. I think visually it looks a little better as well, so happy with that. If you need help with your retirement accounts, go to jazzwealth.com. We do Roth IRAs, SEP IRAs, rollovers of your 401ks. We manage retirement accounts for you. We also manage our own portfolios, so you don't have to pay for mutual funds if you don't want to. And we are SEC fiduciary registered financial advisors. So let's get started here with today's show. We're going to start with some bad news, right? I mean, the markets are down today. We could start with a little bit of bad news. If you're in Chicago, Illinois, state-funded pension liabilities climbed to $133.5 billion from $129 billion. So inadequate state funding, according to the state legislative report released last week. It says the State Legislators Commission also projected that the liability would increase to $137 billion in 19 and $139 billion in 2020. Look, they're not funding their pensions. They've admitted that they have a low pension funded ratio, which is only 40%, right? And so look, it's no wonder that Illinois has one of the worst credit ratings in the U.S., which is basically junk. So you go, what are they going to do about it? Well, what's his name? Jay Pritzker, the new Democrat that took over there, he actually put together, where did it come there? He put together a 17-member committee to address these issues. 17 people. Like, what does that cost? What sort of time are they spending on that? It's going to take 17 people to get this straight. And watch, it doesn't even get straight. It'll just kind of disappear. Anyways, the Legislative Commission said the primary reason for the unfunded liability, hey, dear citizens, we're sorry that the Illinois pension is underfunded here, but we found that the primary reason was because we didn't contribute enough to it. So what's the deal, right? You promised this, you got to contribute to it. So even to take a step further, they tried to cut pensions, right? A couple states have gotten away with this. Illinois actually can't get away with it. So if you live in the state of Illinois, they tried to cut, but there's a Illinois state constitutional law that says you can't cut retirement benefits for sector work, for those public sector workers. So they're trying to see if there's a way around that law. Rather than fix the problem, they're trying to find a way around that law. Add to it the teachers' retirement system and the state universities' retirement system. They were expecting a 6.75% return from their investments, and they actually aren't going to get, right? You see the markets. They're not going to get that return. So the actual unfunded liability could be a lot more. So what they've done so far is they've reduced the benefits for new workers. Congratulations if you work for the state of Illinois, or you're a teacher in Illinois, a cop in Illinois, anybody that deserves to be paid and have this pension, your pension is going to be cut. It should save about $400 million in the budget. However, they're talking B's, right? So they're behind in billions. They're only cutting millions. You can imagine how the math just is not going to work out there. All right. No, we did the whole Chicago mayor thing last time, Kareem. Hey, let's move on to some good stuff, though. That was the sort of one negative. I want to talk about some good stuff here. If you're thinking that 2019 may be the year you want to move to a different state, by the way, I can't tell you how many people, customers of ours that live in California, are seriously considering or have moved out of the state of California. That's just customers of ours. So people are really kind of sick of what they're paying in California and just sliding over a state or two. I wonder what that does for real estate in those other areas there. But anyways, in good news here, if you're thinking about moving, here's a few states that'll actually pay you to move or live in the state. If you live in Alaska, you know that Alaska citizens get paid out of their Alaska, what do they call it? The Alaska Permanent Fund. In 2015, that was over $2,000. There's a little higher cost of living in Alaska, so I can understand that. But I believe it's going to be even higher. I believe it's closer to $2,700 this year. If you don't, if someone lives there, maybe can correct me. But if you live in the state of Alaska, every citizen actually gets a check every year for living there. So that's the state of Alaska. It'd take a lot to get me up to Alaska. You see me complain when I have to wear a sweater for like 3 days in a row. So you can imagine that. In Colorado, they are offering homeowners assistance programs now that include down payment grants, homebuyer education grants, as well as help with your closing costs. So they're trying to attract even more. If you like the idea of legalized marijuana, that's also probably something that you might move there for. But that's pretty cool. So they got some good stuff going on there. Those are two more interesting states. Let's move on to some less interesting states here. Kansas. Remember, Kansas is a state, right? And, I don't know what goes on in Kansas. Like people make fun of Florida down here because we have some very interesting people that live in this state. Kansas is like the Australia of the globe. You notice how Australia seems to never be in the news. They never are fighting anybody. They're always getting along with everybody. Kansas just seems like, hey, we're just doing our thing, man. Leave us alone down here in Kansas. We're good people, and they never make the news. Well, anyways, if you want to move to one of what they're calling their rural opportunity zones, this also coincides with the federal government's opportunity zones, they will give you up to $15,000 to pay back student loans. They will waive your state income tax for 5 years. It just depends on where you move, or both. They might waive your taxes for 5 years and help you pay $15,000 back on your student loan. Would you live in Kansas for a while to pay off student loans if you could find a job out there? Anyways, if you look up the Kansas State Rural Opportunity Zones, they've highlighted a map to show you if you move here, we'll give you everything. $15,000, we'll give you the state income taxes waived for 5 years. If you move here, we'll just give you the grant for the student loan repayment. So I thought that was pretty cool. I got to tell you, if I had $20,000, $30,000, something like that in student loans, and I was really sort of just getting started in life, I think I'd probably consider that, right? If you're going to pay that much off, that saves years, right? So if you had to spend 1 year out there and they're willing to knock that out, you get a job, do something in your field, get your feet wet a little bit, I got to tell you, I think I'd consider that. Anyways, let's move on to another less interesting state that I'd actually love to visit one day, and this is Maine. So in Maine, they have what's called the Maine Venture Fund. And that basically is, they're using the catchphrase or the slogan, visit Maine for a week, stay for a lifetime. If you visit and you decide to live there, they will reimburse your vacation expenses for those of you that came to visit first. And they will also, what else were they doing there? They'll pay for your entire relocation process if you move to Maine. So if you visit Maine and you decide to stay, it looks like they'll cover the entire cost. That's okay. That's not that great. And then in Vermont, another state I'd like to visit. I've passed through there, but never actually visited. They passed a bill recently aimed at drawing more workers by offering $10,000 to relocate. To qualify, you actually just have to be from outside of the state, have a full-time be a job outside of the state, and then actually move into the state. The only negative about this one, though, if you're moving into Vermont, they're going to give you up to $10,000. They've only allocated $125,000 towards this thing. So that's not a lot of people there that they can give that money to. So kind of a negative on that one. Anyways, moving on here. We'll keep this one sort of short today. Article by CNBC, the 5 cities the article was by WalletHub. 5 cities that says that they have the best wallet fitness in all of the United States. This one's kind of interesting because Florida didn't do too well. WalletHub says wallet fitness means that you're in a stable financial position, you got your dough straight, and able to comfortably meet existing obligations as well as plan for the future. They use 29 key metrics to determine whether you were financially fit or were able to plan for the future and weren't essentially going to go bankrupt. And if we go through the top 5, 3 of them are actually in California. The winning city out of all the cities in the U.S. was Fremont, California. Then San Francisco, California, Madison, Wisconsin, go Scouts, Columbia, Maryland, and San Jose, California. The average credit score is 751, which is about 50 points over everybody else. And there's an entire map on WalletHub's site. So what I did is I looked to see what about the areas that I live in. If St. Petersburg, Florida ranked 58, Tampa, Florida ranked 59. We have a lot of customers over in Texas, so if we hover over Texas a little bit, you got Dallas ranked at 124, Fort Worth 105. Let's see if we can find Austin real quick. San Antonio, 152, not too good there. Laredo, 178. Come on, guys. Lubbock, Texas, 141. So kind of interesting there if you want to read that study about WalletHub. I just have a couple more for you and we'll move on. Do you like fast food, do you? If you hear... Do you like fast food? Burger King and McDonald's and Wendy's, they all have these apps. And so these apps are trying to get you to pay attention to deals, come on in, get their discounted foods. In exchange, you'll probably buy more of the higher end stuff because they're trying not to give away everything. Burger King got really creative here. And Burger King got really creative and they actually have an app now where if you're standing within 600 feet of a McDonald's, I want to get this right. If you're within 600 feet of a McDonald's, you open up the app and it will send you a coupon in the app for a Whopper for a penny. Not only that, if you're standing in front of McDonald's, you'll get that penny coupon to go buy a Whopper. It'll give you directions to the nearest Burger King. How cool is that? I thought that was pretty cool. So getting sort of competitive out there with the apps. McDonald's also has a $1 fry promotion going on through its app if you happen to eat the fast food stuff and that's interesting to you. And finally, we'll wrap it up with free college in New York. If you live in the state of New York and you're a resident of New York State, your child could potentially go to school for free. 940,000 middle-class families in the state of New York will qualify. You got to make under $125,000 a year. You got to attend either one of their 2-year or 4-year in-state colleges. Could be any of them, it appears. And that actually began last year, and they're just slowly ramping it up. So in order to apply, you've got to have, of course, a resident of New York State. You have to take 30 credits per calendar year, including the January and summer sessions. You got to plan to live and work in New York following graduation for the length of time that you participate in the free college program, so 2 years, 4 years, whatever it is. And in New York State, every child will have that opportunity provided that your family doesn't make too much, which would be under $125,000. I thought that was pretty cool. It doesn't get a lot of attention in the media, by the way. I'd heard about California, but I didn't see anything specific about that started to pay out. So maybe I appreciate that. Maybe that's something we could add in there. But state of New York. So if you're saving for your kid's college education and they're a junior or a senior this year, be sure to look into that. It's the Excelsior Scholarship. If that's like true and legit and they're actually in the process of making that happen for people, okay. I wonder who pays for that. Cool. Let's see what we got here. Yeah, cool. So if you have any questions, happy to answer any questions you have. That's basically all I have for your dough in the news today. Just wanted to keep it kind of easy, simple, and clean. We don't do these classes often, but when I see a lot of things that are sort of interesting pop up that may help you, I like to point those out. You guys are all commenting about the markets today. We will talk about that later on during the closing beat today at 5 o'clock. We'll go over the performance of the markets for the week. It's not good, right? So heads up, be ready for that. But if we helped you in some way or you found this interesting, hit the subscribe button or join us later and see if that maybe is more interesting to you. We will be back then. I appreciate you guys watching. We'll see you later.
Why should you choose Jazz Wealth as your retirement or long-term investing service? Our portfolios are managed by us, not some faceless mutual fund manager. Our private classes will teach you everything about investing and getting your dough straight. Best of all, our fiduciary standard means your best interest comes before ours.